No one could have anticipated what transpired in this remote town, resting at the world's edge. My journey here was not solely driven by work, but by an insatiable curiosity, the kind that has historically led many a great mind to madness or genius. The kind that enslaves you in the labyrinths of the one master of everything, science. In the previous evening, there was a phone call between myself and my friend, Dr. Edward Paxton, in Australia. He mentioned something peculiar happening in a small town near Perth. Edward does not make random calls. If he contacts me, it is because something is amiss. Edward is a tall, pale man, almost translucent, with disoriented eyes and disheveled hair, making him resemble a mad scientist about to embark on a dangerous experiment. He did not furnish details, only saying, "Dr. Kamal, do not blame me for calling you at this hour, but we require your immediate presence." Within 48 hours, I was in Australia, greeted by an extremely disoriented Edward, clutching a cup of what must have been exceptionally strong coffee. Before he could speak, I advised him to resist the reckless machine of science and allow me a moment to recover from my exhausting journey. Reluctantly, he agreed, but the urgency in his eyes was unmistakable. I questioned whether the situation was indeed that severe. I stayed in a moderately sized house shared with Edward. After 4 hours of sleep, I found Edward surrounded by disorganized papers, unusual for his typically meticulous nature. He stared at me with intent, then brought me some food, which I declined, followed by an English coffee, which I savored. After discussing his recent cases and theories, he handed me a report, casting a meaningful look my way. Upon reviewing it, I understood his disarray. It was a full report of mysterious deaths, each executed in a sophisticated manner signaling a masterful criminal. The serene town we inhabited now harbored a beast. I could confidently say that the events unfolding in this town were unprecedented. The victims were all Australians, none non-white, and each found in the same vicinity, yet their deaths varied, from stabbings to shootings to even crucifixion. This pointed to a precise yet ruthless mind. Despite increased police efforts, the culprit remained elusive. Edward and I concluded that we were not here to prevent murders, but to anticipate the next victim. Despite several hypotheses, we could not pinpoint the perpetrator's motives, though we leaned towards some form of retribution. Over time, I noticed most crimes occurred on Sundays, a lead that required further probing. This realization led us to a lively bar typically frequented by the town's residents. Amidst the chatter, I observed a dark-skinned individual, likely an immigrant, playing oddly with a pen. Something in his behavior struck me as out of place. Upon inquiry, I discovered the man, named Satrowen Wilde, had a history of severe abuse and was a frequent patron of the bar since inheriting everything from his deceased guardian. Careful investigation revealed Satrowen's history included a debilitating head injury, which may have had lasting psychological effects. Eventually, I coordinated with the police to observe Satrowen discreetly. One fateful night, amidst a fierce storm, we traced him to a house where he had bound a woman, ready for another murder. Reluctant to confront Satrowen directly, the police surrounded the house. Inside, amidst the tension, we found Edward gagged and bound, warning me not to untie him for fear of triggering a deadly trap, an elaborate mechanism linked to a butcher's cleaver. Satrowen was ultimately subdued. Days after the ordeal, I visited Edward in the hospital. As he lay there, nursing minor injuries, I noticed something. In his hand, he twirled a pen in a peculiar, almost autonomous manner, a manner distinctly reminiscent of Satrowen.